So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of this session, whereby we will be going through what had previously been discussed during our first session of our personnel licensing. We are joined on stage by our airworthiness team that will take us through some of the changes that have taken place under the PEL regulations, touching on airworthiness, engineering as well, and we wish to remind all of you once again that in case you need to make any submissions, kindly under the questions provision, indicate that you are interested in making oral contributions during this meeting, and we will be able to give you the platform to share your comments. I also want, secondly, just before we start, to remind all of us that in order to join each preceding section, in order to ensure that you join each preceding session, you are requested under the registration button to choose the set of regulations that is next. For example, in the afternoon, we will be having the safety management presentation of the regulations. You'll be required under the registration portal to choose that particular part of the registration link in order to effectively participate in the meeting. We will also be sharing a step-by-step write-up on how to join and participate in all the meetings that are following after this. So just a reminder, in case of any questions or in case of any wish to join and participate or give any verbal remarks or comments, you are kindly requested to just note that down under the questions section, and we will be able to give you the platform. So for now, I want to welcome my colleague, Mr. Alois Lumutu, who will be giving feedback or taking us through the PEL part of the regulations. That's the personnel licensing regulations that touch on airworthiness matters. That's on engineering provisions. Mr. Lumutu.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is Airworthiness team. We are going to take you through licensing regulations, touching majorly on engineers and airworthiness. I know there will be a previous presentation in the morning, and there are some issues that were raised by the industry. I request that if you still have something to be addressed on airworthiness and engineering team, you can drop a question on the Dropbox so that you address. The main concern that we've received is about validation process of our AML licensing. And as we've put in the matrix, I'm displaying the matrix. Okay. On the matrix on validation of licensing, what we have introduced is additional requirement of experience of 4 years practicing your ratings that you want us to validate. That is what has been missing. The next item I also introduced is that if the license is written in a foreign language which is not English, you need to give in a translation. And I saw a question on who is supposed to translate. On translation, we always recommend the origin where the document is originated. That is where we are accepting the translation from, or the embassy. If it say the license is from UK or from France, that is French, we can accept the translation from the Kenyan French embassy or from French CAA. Now, on regulation, on the introduction of new licenses, we've made a change on B2, which was previously reading, B2 was previously reading electronic systems. We have changed that to read B2 avionics. On category C licensing, we have removed category C because category C is not a license. What the license in the new regulation remain B1 and B2. Category C will be issued by the AMO, but just communicated to the authority. It is the AMO's responsibility to issue category C license. We also made a change. We also made changes on a regulation on aviation repair specialists. We've introduced some components of the repair specialists that are missing. This was sheet metal, composite repair, and painting. We noticed from the industry this was missing, and therefore approval process was not very clear. On campus, with the new licensing, we don't have a campus as a license. Campus will be an additional privilege to B1 or B2. There will be a requirement that we'll put in the guidance materials on how to acquire a license or approval or a license ability for our signing or release to service. Otherwise, we'll only have B1 and B2 categories of license. On conversion, the same requirements for validation will apply, except that in conversion we'll be required to do a skill, a knowledge examination, addition to skill test, just like acquiring a B1 and B2 license. I saw a question on, somebody was asking if the conversion will be automatic. The conversion as it is today is not automatic, and the requirement for automatic conversion is applied. We have introduced in the regulation that we have to have a common agreement with the foreign licensing authority before we can automatically recognize conversion without going through our approval process or examination process. There's a question from Anyango Otieno. He's asking, I hope the Cat C license issued by one AMO will be able to be recognized by other AMOs in Kenya. That is, the answer is no. We cannot transfer privileges from one AMO in terms of internal approvals process to another AMO. But another AMO will recognize your experience from the previous AMO, and then they'll use their internal mechanisms to give you their Cat C approval in that new AMO. Tony Malala is asking, could you kindly clarify the category C will be issued by the AMO? Yes, I've just said that category C will be issued by the AMO, but communicated to the authority. Any issue of any privilege by the AMO will be communicated to KCA. There was a question on military experience. We have put the regulation, the requirements of military or the requirement of military experience. We have recognized in the regulation. However, you will still go through our internal or KCA process of licensing on category 1 or on category B1 and B2. Otherwise, we are putting in the regulation the provision that we recognize the military experience. Yes. Oh, there's a confusion in the industry about category C. People are confusing from the current, or we can call it previous, if you adopt this regulation. Category C has been a category on engines. And this one we are going to do away with, because B1 will cover engines and airframe. So let us not confuse category C to still remain about engines. So category C is a certification privileges which will be issued by the AMO and communicated to the authority. And on the foreign licensing, we have introduced the regulation 24, where we say that the authority may automatically validate or convert a foreign aircraft maintenance engineer's license issued by other contracting state, provided that the authority and the other contracting states shall have adopted a common licensing regulation that are compliant with ICAO Annex 1, entered into a formal agreement recognizing the foreign, the automatic validation process, established a surveillance system to ensure that continuing implementation of the common licensing regulations, and registered the agreement with ICAO. If these are not done, we cannot automatically recognize a foreign license. And therefore, conversion will have to go through our KCA licensing processes. We are aware that this is not the final day for sending in your feedback or your comments or your clarification requirements. We are still open on the email that was shared before. But for now, I think those are the issues that were still outstanding in terms of AML licensing. If we have further questions, we'll be able to clarify. Otherwise, I'll take you back to the moderator, Dennis.
Thank you very much, Bwana Lumutu, for taking us through the portion of personnel licensing regulations that was touching on maintenance personnel. We're looking at the question section. I've not received any request for purposes of making any oral submissions, and the questions that have been raised there have been responded to. Mr. Tony Malala, you can proceed and make your submissions.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
A few of the things I'd just like to clarify is on the Cat C licensing. I was just wondering whether this can be incorporated into the regulations, because you talked about Cat C license being issued internally by the MOs. So are you able to maybe have this written down in the regulations, just to give some guidance for compliance and also to avoid any ambiguity?
Bwana Malala, I'll kindly request that you repeat the question so that we can get it from the start. We missed the starting bit of it.
Okay, actually, I've posted the question as a written question on the written board. So I just wanted to find out if these new regulations on Cat C, because Mr. Alois has just said that the Cat C will be issued internally by the AMOs. So are you going to publish this into the regulation? Because there's nowhere where it mentions this in the regulations about the Cat C being internally issued by the AMOs. Just to avoid ambiguity and also for the sake of compliance. so that if an AMO issues a Cat C to any of its staff, and because you've also said that this has to be accepted by the authority, why don't you just publish the guidance and put that in the regulation?
Okay, my colleague Bwana Lumutu has gotten the question and will be responding to it.
Also, before, can I also say what will be the knowledge and/or experience requirements, if any, for this issue of Cat C license, which is issued internally by the AMOs? What will be the requirements that will the AMOs be subjected to a list of or a set of knowledge or experience requirements for them to issue? Because obviously that they're not just going to issue Cat Cs to anybody. Of course, the person who is going to hold the Cat C license internally by the AMO has got to have some form of requisite knowledge or experience. So could you kindly maybe give some further clarification along with whether or not this will actually be published as part of the regulation, so we can see it in black and white?
Thank you, Mr. Tony Malala. We've gotten your question. The first question was about the category C you've talked about. What you're saying is that before we approve an MO, there's a procedure that they bring to us in terms of MPM. In the MPM, they'll have to explain to us how they intend to qualify this engineer for category C. Otherwise, from the KCA perspective, we have given minimum that for somebody to release, that is the final person who will be releasing maintenance release class 1, what we are now calling CRS class 1. Currently is being released by a Cat A and C or engineer. That is the privilege are going to transfer to the C privileges I'm talking about. But the approval process will be entirely on the AMO that is doing maintenance on a particular fleet of aircrafts. So the AMO will have an internal procedure accepted by the authority on how they qualify this person. And that is why they need to communicate to us, and the manual will have to approve. The second item is that we have put actually in the regulation, the qualification on who is releasing the maintenance release. The final person who is signing the CRS, as it is currently called, we have put the qualification in a regulation. If you look at the regulation, you'll see that the qualification on who is supposed to release the aircraft, that is the person we are going to give the privileges of Cat C. And that role has been assigned or delegated to the individual AMO. So we cannot put it in black and white as you put it, but it is, we have put a minimum requirement for somebody who is supposed to release the aircraft. I hope you have answered your question. Mr. Malala? Additionally, on Cat C, you cannot just be issued Cat C without, you cannot just be issued the privileges of C without having a B1 or B2 license. You must have a B1 license for you to qualify for the C privileges. Okay, Dennis?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the clarifications that have been given. I trust that Malala, you've gotten the responses appropriate for your questions. There seems to be no additional questions that have been raised under the questions button. I'd like just to remind all of us how to seek the floor when you want to make any verbal presentations. Kindly just indicate the same under the questions portal and you'll be given the floor to make your remarks. In addition, we'll still be posting the step-by-step so that we do not lose any of the participants as we move from one session to another. The concerns that have been raised both under this platform and also on email been responded to accordingly. We're also hosting the step-by-step process of shifting from one session to another on our Twitter handle as well as our Facebook page. You'll be able to get the step-by-step process of moving from one session to the other. You are kindly reminded under the registration portal, kindly choose to attend all the sessions. That will enable you join in or skip from one session to the other, and also choose the ones that you intend to participate in. With regard to the AOC and admin regulations, we have received quite a number of remarks in terms of a number of people who missed out on the better part of the session. We wish to update that tomorrow morning up to 3 o'clock, we will be handling operations related regulation, that is aircraft operation related regulations from commercial operations, general helicopter, and we intend to cover any bits that might have been missed out under the AOC and admin regulations during the timings tomorrow. I think that will be all from my end. I don't seem to have any additional questions under the questions portal, or I'm not seeing anyone who wishes to make any remarks at the moment. I'll probably just give a minute or two, just in case there is any of you who's going through or preparing their questions, so that we can be able to respond to them adequately and have an engaging session between what the CAA has proposed as the draft regulations and what eventually ends up as the promulgated regulations. Again, I want to say that we will be posting the step-by-step process for joining each and every session that is there. But of importance is under the registration portal, you choose all the sessions, and that will enable you participate fully and move from one session to the other. The step-by-step process of joining any sessions will be shared on our social media handles, that's on Twitter as well as Instagram. We have also extracted all the email addresses for each and every person that had registered to participate or was there during the first session. We will be able to also share this step-by-step process to enable you fully participate in this public participation forum that we are undertaking, and which is of utmost importance. So I've not received any additional comments. There's one from Agnes Kamau. I'll kindly request my colleague and Alois Lumutu to respond over the same. One from Agnes saying that it's been a cat and mouse game getting to these sessions. I hope it will be easier going forward. Yes, we confirm that we will be able to share the step-by-step process, and with that you'll be able to follow. I think the same concern is being raised by Irene Mutisia. We are handling this with our technical, with the ICT support team that we have here to ensure that the joining or the shifting from one session to the other is as seamless as possible. There's a request there by Ahmed Ali to take the members through the registration process. Kindly just hold on. We will be able to share that. There's there's a link that has been shared there that will enable all of us follow the process. And please remember that this has also been shared to the various social media handles, and emails have been sent also on the process of joining these sessions or following the sessions, or even moving from one session to the other.
There is one concern from Anyango Tieno. Anyango Tieno is asking, with the 2021 drafts, the regulations say that the B1 can only release airframes and B2 for avionics only. That is not true. B1 is currently covering airframes and engines. B1 is currently covering airframe and engines. B2 is covering all avionics licenses, what we currently call category XS and R. That will be converted to B2 avionics. B1 will cover engines and airframe for all kinds of aircraft. And then you also ask that as the AMO issues Cat C, who among these will be able to release the entire aircraft as a single individual? Normally, there's no single individual who releases an aircraft because the aircraft has got various skills. But the person who will be signing, the ultimate person will be signing down there, who is currently A and C, that's the person who is going to be having privileges of C. Remember that this C is not a category of license. C is a privilege that will be assigned or delegated by the AMO. So it's not a license. It is an extension of your B1 license. It's a privilege given to you as an extension of your B1 license. So C is not a category in itself. Okay, Dennis.
I think this one.
Okay, there's someone from Malala. You say that for an applicant for an aircraft maintenance engineer's license, it is not clear what the content of the knowledge requirements entails, as it only makes reference to examination via modularization, although there is nothing that shows what this module subjects matter is. Tony Malala, what you are going to do, we are going to convert from the current examination system to a modular system. We have module 1 up to module 17, depending on what category of a license you require. You know that in a modular system, we have module 7, 9, and 10 has got both essay and multiple choice questions. Otherwise, the rest are all multiple choice questions. So we are going to change from our current examination system to a new system for B1 and B2. And the syllabus will be communicated to you in a schedule to these regulations. So when we implement, there will be a schedule to this regulation that will indicate what to cover on each module. Then there's a question, there is no confirmation on the readiness of a draft of study material or syllabus or examinations for the new licensing system. This is the same. We are going to give you a schedule or indicating the syllabus on what is required per module. Another question, has anything been communicated about the subject content and or syllabus on the modularization? Once we adopt the regulations, that is in the process now, we'll publicize or we'll make it public for all interested people to see what is expected of you for every module. And remember, when we say knowledge, when we say licensing, you'll go through a knowledge. And before the knowledge, you'll have a determined period of experience. And then you go through what you call a skill test. So in the essay or multiple choice questions will be testing your knowledge, and then you'll have to bring in a worksheet or showing or demonstrating experience, and then you'll have to take you through a skill test before you acquire a license. Okay. There's a concern. I know some members are requesting us to take you through the new system. The new system of licensing is as follows. You'll be required to have attained a minimum level of certificate. Currently, is a diploma in aeronautical engineering or any relevant course. Then you'll be required to have some experience, maybe 3 years, and then after that you'll be applying. You make an application to the authority, showing intention to sit through the examinations. Then we will have to choose which modules you'll be taking. Tentatively, we will be allowing 3 modules per sitting. Some modules will be taking less time than others. Some will take as less as 20 minutes. So we can allow you to sit through 3 modules or maximum of 3 hours, because there's some modules that take even 2.5 hours. So you can take 3 modules at most, or sit for an exam for not more than 3 hours. Once you pass every module, we'll keep the module passed to your credit, and then once you fail, you'll have to repeat after a minimum period of 3 months. The failed modules you repeat after a minimum period of 3 months. Once you complete all the modules, you'll be required to apply, or we will call you for a skill test. After the skill test, then you will have to be issued with a license if you successfully complete the skill test. The charges will be communicated later, because I know this will affect the charges that we charge currently. This will be communicated on another document. I can see a question from Javan. Javan Osike. Why does the authority still examine people or engineers on easy question system when the world over people are only examined on multiple choice exam for licensing? This is the reason, Bwana Javan, this is the reason why we are changing our regulations to adopt the B1, B2 system. But even the B1, B2 system, there are some modules, like I've said, that you still have to do or essay, module 7, module 9, and module 10. Otherwise, when we adopt these regulations, we'll all do multiple choice questions. From Kamlesh, how far has KCA reached in the implementation of our CAO Doc 10147 guidance on competency-based approach to dangerous goods training and assessment? This is an AOC question. AOC question, this will be addressed. Bwana Kamlesh, you will be answered your question.
Thank you very much, for responding to those questions that have been raised. You'll appreciate that most of the questions that are also coming in are cross-cutting and might well be answered as we are going through the operations regulations tomorrow. We have received quite a number of inputs and suggestions when it comes to the handling of dangerous goods. As we are going through um, the commercial ops tomorrow, we will be able to cover most of these sessions. When Malala had requested the floor, it seems that you had gotten muted, you had been muted, or you had completed your request. Kindly take the floor.
For me, I just like to. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? more. I just wanted to clarify on, I guess this would be either credits or on the knowledge requirements for the modularization. So is the KCA going to be recognizing internationally acquired modules from the different licensing systems? Say, for instance, one has attempted EASA Part 66 modularization and passed them. That and or if people have acquired knowledge from, let's say, degrees, what would be the basis of this as far as KCA is concerned on the aircraft maintenance engineer's license? Are international examinations or knowledge that is acquired from, let's say, Part 147 institutions going to be recognized? Also, are degree holders going to be accorded the same level of recognition or credits in lieu of the modules?
Yes, I hear you. You are very correct. But as it is today, they only recognize the final license. We don't recognize in between processes. We only recognize when you come with B2, we'll recognize and go through a validation or conversion process. But you cannot recognize modules because modules, as they are issued, they are regulated differently. So what we cannot, for now, we will not recognize the license, but not the modules that you've passed from other examining authorities. On the ATOs, I know the British system, they use ATOs as examining centers. That is where we are going to. But we have not have strong ATOs currently in our country to delegate that function. When that comes and the approval is granted, then we can be able to recognize the credentials and the credits from those ATOs. But for now, we'll be administering examination from KCA. Malala, I hope you have been answered. I can see a question from. I can see a question from Atieno Onyango. What will be the expectation for current license holders to obtain a license with the new categories? Will they be automatically issued upon renewal? Now, once the regulation goes through, we'll be changing the licenses when your renewal is due. Now, when you are due for, say, renewal next month and you apply for renewal and you have currently, say, category X instrument only, we'll give you a B2 license with limitation to instruments. We'll not give you a blanket B2. At the same time, we'll not deny you the privilege that we've been having for electrical. So we'll give you a license, B2, but with the limitation on what you have. But for A and C, if you have A and C license, we'll convert it to automatically B1. This is to avoid congestion in the authority if we want to change his license. The next question I can see from again, with the current R and X categories being in B2, the holders are required to show competency and experience in performing tasks they were previously not engaged in. With the current R and X categories being in B2, the holders are required to show competency and experience in performing tasks they were previously not engaged in. Now, for the purpose of Anyango, when you apply for B2, we'll make sure that you cover all the elements of B2, radio, autopilot, electrical, and instruments. And instruments so that we give you B2. If you have only R and you want B2, we'll give you B2 with limitation to radio. However, we'll identify, and you'll see from the schedule of these regulations, the modules that you'll use, you'll need to sit to bridge the gap so that you have full B2. The same to A and C. If you have category C and you don't have A, we'll identify for you the modules that you need to cover before we issue the full B1 license. Now, the new element we're also introducing is that Currently, you've been using worksheets. With this regulation, we're introducing a logbook. That is the practice all over the world. So the engineers will have a logbook that will log in all the tasks that you will be doing. This logbook is what we'll be using to assess your qualification for the various categories of licenses. Java Nosike, you're asking if Cat C will be issued by the AMO and not the authority, then why call it a license? To me, license is a document issued by the authority. Yes, Java Nosike, this is, like I said, it's not a license. This is a privilege, an extended privilege on B1 license. Cat C itself is not a license. Tony Malala, also will degree holders in relevant subject, for example, aerospace engineering, aircraft engineering, etc., going to be accorded the same level of recognition and all credits in lieu of the modules. A means of according credits need to be in place. Okay, I agree there should be a means of according credits, but a degree or a diploma that will be, in terms of licensing and AML, it will be an entry level, considered as a basic requirement for you to qualify to start doing licensing exams. So we cannot recognize degree or diploma differently, but a minimum requirement may be a diploma. If you have a degree, the better, but you'll still have to go through the modules.
Thank you very much, Yonalumutu, for responding to those questions, as well as demystifying the new categorization. That's B1 and B2. Um, any pending or any further clarification can be sought directly by visiting the CAA offices in case there is need to get clarifications on how the transition will be undertaken. However, the regulations will contain the various categorizations. The process can be obtained from the CAA headquarters. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you once again on the process of following up or shifting from one session to the other. You are kindly requested to follow the step-by-step process that has been posted on the under the questions tab, whereby there is a link that has been put there. That's under http /kca.wa.ke. When you click on it, there is an events tab that you can go to. Under the drop-down menu. You select the session that you want to join in. As earlier communicated, tomorrow we will be having our operations, most of our operations regulations being covered from 8 o'clock up to 3 o'clock. We intend to use the sessions to cover again parts and portions of the draft civil aviation air operator certification and administration regulations that we got wind that most of the people had had a challenge in joining as they were stuck in the personnel licensing regulations. So we are still open and we're still receiving any additional comments that we can get over the portion of maintenance personnel that were covered earlier on in the personnel licensing regulations. We still have our airworthiness team with us. So in case of any questions or clarifications that you may need on what has been posted in the or what has been proposed in the draft regulations, you can share the same. We have also received a number of written comments through the email address that was posted, that is kcars2021 at gmail at kcaa.or.ke. We got a number of comments and remarks. We will be collating all these suggestions and proposals and comments that had been given, and prepare them in a tabular format showing the response as appropriate. Otherwise, we still continue welcoming any questions that might be there. And I want to repeat again, tomorrow morning from 8 to 5, we will be handling our operations, aircraft operations regulations, and we will cover the draft civil aviation air operator certification and administration regulations that we got wind that quite a number of people had missed out as they were shifting from one session to the other. I'm still waiting for any comments that any of you might have over this session. We want to confirm that we will be taking on board the comments that have been given. We will evaluate the same and incorporate them accordingly. For example, the proposal given by Anyango Otieno on extending the AML's validity for 5 years. This will be relooked at, and our team will evaluate the same and make the changes as appropriate to the regulations or the draft regulations that are there. In case any of the comments is not taken on board, the same will have an accompanying reason and rationale on why the same was incorporated or half incorporated, or an explanation as to how KCAA arrived at the final text that went into the regulations. Okay, I'm still waiting for any additional comments. I think, and just as we are doing that, I want to confirm to Anyango Otieno that in the draft regulations, the period that has been proposed is the validity period that has been proposed is a 5-year, 60 months, which I believe will be quite advantageous to the industry and all the AMLs out there. So the comment by Bonagad Kamau, I trust that we've gotten a response. Tomorrow from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3, we will be covering the operation of aircraft regulations. That's the commercial, helicopter, and general aviation. We'll make provision to ensure that we handle the AOC, that's the air operator certification and administration regulations. Still, we are getting a number of questions on the process. There is one requesting what will follow after the consolidation of the inputs. We confirm that KCA will, after this session, have all the comments that have been received from the public. That is both during this session that we are having right now, where we are receiving the comments from the public. Anyone wishing to make a comment can actually indicate that they intend to give a verbal or oral remarks during this meeting, and they will be given an opportunity to give their presentation or make their presentation. But after we are done receiving the comments through the various modes that we have set up, that is the dedicated email address kcars2021@kcaa.or.ke, as well as the comments that are coming in through direct feedback from the industry, as well as what we are getting from this session. We will prepare a tabulation of the same and give a justification or give a reason as to the eventual text that goes into the 2021 regulations. I trust that responds to the question asked by Kano Waidaka. In case anyone wishes to make any verbal or oral presentations, kindly just indicate and you'll be given the floor to make your remarks. As that is happening, still want to remind the members that tomorrow morning, for those who had missed out on the air operator certification and administration regulations, we will be going over the same as tomorrow from 8 to 3 o'clock. We'll be having our aircraft operations regulations being covered, and we intend to use that opportunity to go over the AOC and administration regulations. We're still getting additional inputs. That's from Wana Malala. I believe my colleague Wana Lumutu will be able to look at this, and we appreciate the comments that are coming in, and encourage that we also receive as much as possible to enable us come up with draft regulations that are all encompassing. And as the representative to the DG had made remarks in the morning, we intend to work side by side in the process of coming up with the new TACAS 2021. You can see Bwana Waidaka has requested for the floor. You can kindly join in and participate and make your remarks. Bwana Waidaka? You have the floor. Kindly accept the request to participate and you will be given the floor. Okay, as we are getting ready for Kano Waidaka to join us, there's still a number of questions that are coming in, and my colleague Bwana Lumutu will be able to address. Once you make a request for participation or giving your verbal remarks, kindly just accept the participation and you will be given the floor to make your presentation.
Oh, there is a comment from Anyango Tieno asking if there is any specific reason that the validation certificate has to be time capped at 12 months without the possibility of renewal. Yes, there's a reason. The reason is that validation is supposed to be a temporary measure as you qualify other engineers. For example, if you import an aircraft that is that's new to the country, we may not have skills locally. So we issue validation for foreign engineers with their qualification to work on our aircraft as we qualify our own engineers. Because validation is not in itself a license. Validation is a certificate. If you want a license, you go the conversion way. But validation actually is supposed just to be used as a stopgap measure to fill in or to make operations continue. Otherwise, it's not in itself a license. Malala, you've suggested that we need to get a way of recognizing credits. We have taken that in. We are going to consider that. But remember that not everything can be regulations. Some things we can give you other documents that will guide the industry. So if something that is, if a proposal is well taken in and is not in the regulation, there's a way we can adopt it through other documents and still we achieve what we want to achieve. Malala again, the credits with those who follow a similar content syllabus. Now, like I said before, I know credits, if we follow the same syllabus, that is fine. An example is IASA. If you have done credits, say in Greece, module 1 in Greece, you can go and do module 3, 4, 5 in Sweden, for example, without repeating what you did in Greece. But remember, that is an exam administered by one body, IASA. Now, in our case, it is only KC that is administering this examination. So we don't have a way of recognizing other credits, but the annex just compel us to recognize the license, not the credits. However, as I said, we can consider that going forward.
Thank you very much, Lubutu, for the remarks that we have received. Kanoidaka is online, and the floor is yours.
Sorry, Dennis, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry for that technical problem. Dennis, my question is about this process, the way we have done it before, obviously because of the health reasons, we are forced to go this way, virtual, as opposed to what we have been doing in the past, which has been actually the real sense of public participation. This one, and I think perhaps you have had quite a few comments from other members, is that people are not able to debate on very critical issues so that we exchange ideas. It seems to be just a one-on-one discussion between the presenters and one particular person, not the whole of the public that are in attendance, if you know what I mean. That helps in debate building to ensure that one point that is raised by the other is also given complementary, inputs by the other attendants. And that to us would appear to be public participation. At the moment, that seems to be very narrowed to just one-on-one, and maybe doesn't satisfy the need for real, meaningful public participation. Would you please consider that maybe in the remaining sessions and see how we can be able to do something like a debate, because this is a very raw draft and we want to refine it to the best. I hope you understand my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanoidaka, for the remarks and input. We confirm that, and as had been mentioned during the DG's open remarks, we are working under very difficult and stringent times that require us to observe particular protocols when it comes to meetings. And this online mode is being used for the first time to undertake public participation for the regulations review exercise. We acknowledge that there was a hiccup in terms of participation by members that was caused by the challenges in shifting from one session to the other. We trust that with the clarifications that we've been given under the question section, as well as what is being posted by our communications team, that we will be able to seamlessly move from one session to the other. We also enabled the sharing by any member of the public who has any comments they intend to make. The only request that we have made is that you make this clear by just putting it under the questions section. We have a team that is keeping an eye out and looking for anyone who wishes to participate in the process. And also, as had been mentioned earlier on, tomorrow we will be handling our operations regulations, aircraft operation regulations, and we intend to revisit the AOC and admin for those who had missed out. I see there are a number of comments that have come in. We'll be able to. There's a team that is responding to them. But Kanwaithaka, I trust that with the remarks given, we will be able to have a all-inclusive public participation forum, and that can still be achieved by indicating that you have, in addition to what has already been presented, you have any verbal remarks that you want to give, and you will be given the floor. So, Kanwaithaka, I trust that is in order. I see there are comments by Wanagat Kao touching on commercial operations, and you will bear me witness that with the review of the regulations coming from 2009 to 2013 to 2018, we have made best efforts to cover sector-specific or have sector-specific regulations, and that is what has led to the spike from about 14 or so regulations to what we currently have at the moment. We will have your query responded to adequately as we proceed. Bwana Lumutu can respond to some of the questions that have been raised both from Tito and Kamlesh Tank. Can you respond, Bwana Lumutu?
Yes, I can see a question from Tito Kondo. Good afternoon. Kindly elaborate or confirm the possibility of endorsement of type ratings in the AML. Going forward, this is one of the changes that we've made. Once these regulations go through, we'll be endorsing all the type ratings in the AML license. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what size of the aircraft. However, we'll be having assessors. We'll be having assessors that will be approved. Assessors will be in the AMO if the AMO can accommodate. But the process of qualifying assessors must be determined by the authority. Or the AMO shall submit a process of how they identify the assessors. Now, once the assessors write the report and they give recommendation to authority, then we'll be able to endorse the type ratings on the license. On second question, also the regulation with regard to validations of type 2 ratings endorsed. Yes, validation is only relevant where you have a type rating. Otherwise, you don't need validation if there's no rating. So, in the validation certificate will indicate the type that we are validating you on. Remember, validation is very specific to a given type of aircraft. You may have in your license various endorsement on aircraft, but probably you only need one element of that endorsement in validation. So you only give validation certificate touching on the required or requested ratings. From Anyango Tieno, adding a cat B1 as a holder of B2, one needs to show 6 months experience, regulation 25.3. Such a scenario will require doing examinations on specific modules relevant to the category. Now, if you look at that regulation, if you have B1 already in your license as a license holder and you want to do B2, you'll just fill in and do examinations, the difference between B1 and B2. You'll not repeat all the exam from module 1 to module 17. For example, you know B1, you will not do module 13. Now, if you want to B2, you'll have to do module 13 and do all relevant modules to B2 before we endorse the B2 license. It is not a requirement. The minimum requirement for B1 before application may not apply when you are now applying for extension. That is Regulation 125. I can see there's a question from Kamlesh Tank.
Thank you, Bwana Lumutu, for response to the questions that are coming in. And I trust that as we go on, we are getting a picture of how the new licensing system for AML will be taking shape. There's a question that has been asked by Kamlesh with regard to Doc 9284, that's under Annex 18. I have one of my colleagues, Ms. Kamene, who will be able to adequately respond to that particular question.
Thank you for the chance. On a question by Kamlesh Tank on Annex 18, Doc 9284, we had addressed the issue during the AOC and admin session in the morning, and understand he did not attend. So the need to be addressed, I guess, is on the competency-based training and assessment on dangerous goods. So at the moment, we refer to the technical instructions, but the CAA is in the process of having a standalone regulations on dangerous goods to address all items on dangerous goods. So your question is well received, shall be addressed. Thank you, Dennis.
I trust that the question has been adequately responded to. In case of any additional clarifications, and as we mentioned, as had been mentioned earlier on, we will be able to cover part of AOC and admin regulations that a number of participants had missed out in the morning owing to the challenges in shifting from one session to the other. I trust that the questions also raised by Bonopondo have adequately been covered, and the responses given are adequate. Following what Kanoitaka had mentioned or had proposed in terms of what follows after we are done with this forum, KCA will be collecting all the remarks that that have been received so far, both from the dedicated email that has been set up, as well as during this one-on-one participation with the public, or is still received by KCA through any other channel. We will be putting them together and presenting them in a matrix format, and this will be available for review by the public. It will give the reasons as to why comments were taken, comments were not taken, or some of the comments were taken and adopted in a particular way. That's the document that will be posted on our website, and if the time or sessions allow, we'll be able to make a presentation on the comments that have been received. So I see we are progressing well. The various questions that continue coming in will be responded to as appropriate. I cannot see any additional requests for the floor or to make any presentations. I wish just before we break for or go for the lunch break, on the process of joining in for any subsequent sessions, the same have been shared, and we will reshare again in terms of how to join in. Please follow the link that has been set up, or the one that is shared right now, and ensure that you follow the prompts, go to the drop-down menu, and select the session that you want to join. The session that will be starting from 2 o'clock will be the draft civil aviation safety management regulations 2021, and the presenter of that will be Ms. Lois Mwangi. She'll be taking us through the list of proposed changes that have been made, as well as receiving input and responding to the many comments that have been received so far, touching on the safety management regulations as well as the safety management personnel. The link to join the same, or the process of joining the link, is shared in the comments section. Please go to follow the link that has been shared there. Under the events tab, click on the drop-down menu, select the session that you would want to join. In this case, it will be the safety management session, and you'll be taken directly to the live link to join in and give your input. So with that, let's see whether we have any additional questions that we have received. I believe most of what is there has already been responded to. All these comments will be captured by our secretariat team and presented in a tabular format, and the comments or remarks by the CAA will be included there. I wish, since we have some 15 minutes break, I want to take us to part of, we have 15 minutes to go, just some additional time. I want to take us to part of our technical team who will be able to guide you through the step-by-step process of joining in or participating in the various other forums. During the morning session, we had quite a number of participants, and we are seeing that the same is coming back to the numbers that we had in the morning. We wish to give the opportunity to our IT team that is on the ground to take us through the step-by-step process that you can ensure that will ensure that you participate in the next session that is starting at 2, which is on the safety management, the draft civil aviation safety management regulations. And I also still want to remind the members that we have not yet closed the window or opportunity of submitting any additional comments or remarks. Please feel free to still send your comments and remarks to KCARS 2021, that's KCARS 2021 at kcaa.or.ke. We will review the same and incorporate them into the draft regulations accordingly. Further, the process that we are now undertaking, which is the online participation, we are doing it for the first time, and towards this end, I will still want to encourage anyone who has or wishes to make oral submissions to kindly just indicate the same under the questions section, and you will be given the floor to make your remarks or give your presentations. So I believe now we can have our ICT team just take us through the details step-by-step process to ensure seamless participation by all the members. Karim.
Hi, good afternoon to you all. I hope you can hear me clearly. We have one step to register and join the sessions. When you go to the KCAA website, kcaa.or.ke, you'll see a link that is the Kenya Civil Aviation Regulations 2021 forum link. Please click on it. It will take you to a page that is a live storm page. On that page, there's a registration box where you can input your email. On top of that box, there is a drop down. That drop down lists the sessions we have currently for the KCA Public Participation Forum. On the page, it's written Monday, June 14th, 2021. And currently, if you access it, you'll see at 11:30 a.m. EAT, East African time, there's a drop-down link. Please click on it and you'll see all the sessions that are listed for the whole week. The next session is scheduled for 2 p.m. in the afternoon and the others for the week. For you to join any session once it's over, just come to this link, input your email address, click register now. It will redirect you to the current session. You do not have to register again. It's only to access the current session. Now, for first timers who are registering for the first time, or your friends if you are going to tell them about the link, once they register the first time, tell them to select all the sessions to be able to join at once. We had not clearly informed you that the first time you are registering, you should have selected all the sessions. So this time when you join, click a session and join on to it. Secondly, for the video, once a session is over, you can be able to download the video and watch it yourself or replay it or even share it. Also during the presentations, there's a PDF file that is being shared by the moderators that you can download yourself and go through. Once they put up a presentation and you can see it on your screen, please click on the top right corner of your screen somewhere here. There'll be a drop-down link. Click on that link and you can download the PDF format of the presentation that they'll be doing. In case of any challenges, we'll be here to address them. You can ask your questions on the tab and they'll be addressed. And if you want to make a comment, whether verbally or through the video, if you just want to do audio, send a request through the question tab, and then our moderators will be able to grant you access for you to be able to present to everyone else who is involved in the forum. I think I've addressed most of the issues that are there. Please remember to join the next session, which is at 2 o'clock. Go to the link on the KCAA website, click on it, then just put your email address there and it will redirect you to the 2 o'clock session once we start it. It's just that simple. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dennis.
Thank you very much for the clarification. And we do look forward to seeing all of you at 2 o'clock when we start the next session. As has been guided, please go to the KCAA website. You will find the link to join. You need to choose the particular session that will be coming on, which is the 2 o'clock session, the Draft Civil Aviation Safety Management Regulations. Please also ensure that you choose on the particular session to enable you participate, because if you use the link that you had used for an earlier meeting, you'll see the playback of what transpired as opposed to what is happening live. So with that, we are very grateful for the comments and input that have been received during this past session, where we were responding to or giving clarifications on the presentation, the first presentation that had been made earlier today, that's personnel licensing regulations, and clarifying specifically on matters touching on maintenance personnel. So as sorry, I've just seen one more comment. Please, that's from Diana Ndomo. Please advise if the deadline of 14th June to submit the stakeholder form has been extended. Yes, I wish to confirm that we are still receiving input and comments that are coming in from the public touching on the regulations, any of the regulations that has been presented or is to be presented up to the end of the week. We will be receiving the comments and collating them. In addition, if you wish to make any verbal remarks or verbal comments, kindly indicate so under the questions tab. Just indicate that you wish to have the floor, and you'll be granted the opportunity to address the forum that is there. So thank you very much. We see you back here at 2 o'clock when Ms. Lois Mwangi will be taking us through the draft civil aviation safety management regulations. Thank you very much. See you at 2.